Republicans are once again giving the middle finger to the voters that told them that they want something different. And it ties perfectly into something I've been trying to convince people around this conversation about the right wing's war on abortion this entire time. What we're talking about in this case is Missouri. See, Missouri, like many states in this election, had ballot measures, and they allowed people to choose, rather than going through representatives, you get to choose what we want to do. And in this case, it was, should we enshrine abortion protections in the state constitution? And this is exactly what Trump has been saying he wants to do, right? I give it back to the states. That's what everybody wanted. We give it to the states. Well, they gave it to the state, and the people voted, and they voted to enshrine abortion protections into the Missouri state constitution. And that's that, right? No, because screw that mess. Republicans in control of Missouri don't care about what the voters want, including Republican voters. So immediately after that, they're introducing measures to reverse the will of the people. And so one measure that they're pushing would ask voters to amend the state constitution to define life as beginning at conception. The result would be to classify abortion as an unlawful killing. I guess just giving the people a vote on, do you want the right to an abortion, is too clear. You know, people can understand that and they can have their voice be heard in theory. Instead, we're gonna try to like backdoor outlaw it, even though people just told you they want those rights. Other proposed amendments include stricter abortion limits, restricting access to cases of rape, incest, medical emergencies, and fetal anomalies. Those so-called exceptions that aren't worth a damn. These measures would impose additional requirements, such as mandating that rape survivors file police reports to obtain an abortion. And so this is the normal sort of thing you see out of the right wing. They're also trying to link abortion rights to gender transition procedures for minors, because I guess they think that they can win on that even if they can't win on abortion. So if you make people choose both, they'll willingly give up rights to their own bodily autonomy to deny those rights to kids, I guess. That seems to be the strategy, at least, Farron. And we've seen this before. You know, they're also trying to raise the threshold for ballot measures in the future. So that's why, like in Florida, where you live, some of those ballot measures passed, except they didn't, because all they had was a majority of the vote, and that's clearly not enough. And so we can't really be surprised by this, but what do you make of it?
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you brought up Florida, because we have that 60% threshold, you know, just to make super duper sure the voters really want something. But it wasn't always like that. It only became like that a couple years ago, because Ron DeSantis and this Republican controlled government here, the state passed a ballot measure giving felons who had served their time in prison the right to vote back. They were so mad that they then amended it after that one passed, that, okay, now you gotta have 60%. So that's what sparked all of that here in Florida. And we would be living in a much different state if they hadn't done that. But either way, this is now the blueprint. And if they realize, like, okay, the voters are gonna keep voting down these things that we wanna do to restrict their rights, so we've gotta restrict their rights through this legislation, increasing the margin of victory that they have to have. So Florida was the test case. They were able to get it done, and now Missouri. And I do think we will see this start to spread. It was kind of like Scott Walker in Wisconsin all those years ago with the attacks on the teachers unions that really began there. And then once he was successful, it spread to other Republican controlled states. They always do the test case, and if it works, everybody else goes along with it. And unfortunately, the voters in Missouri are about to find that out the hard way. The same people they put in power are about to take away their power.
Exactly. Like I guess what Missouri, including many Missouri Republicans, voted for was, I guess it was politically incorrect, and they need to be stopped by the Republicans. Their voice is being canceled. In this case, it's all hypocritical BS, except for the only principle that actually exists is power is its own aim. That's the entire point of all of this. They will manipulate the ballot measure procedure in whatever way benefits them. And theoretically, there's a lesson there for the Democrats. You know, like change it so that, ballot measures increasing gun violence prevention measures only need 30% to pass. You know, you could do that. Why not? I mean, they're manipulating things in Florida. You could do the exact same thing. Why not? Anyway, I doubt they're going to do that, but I do think that as long as Republicans are going to have this cutthroat attitude to politics, Democrats need to do the exact same thing. They need to be just as brutal until finally the Republicans tap out and they say, no, let's go back to a fair playing field where we actually try to convince people of our positions. We gave up on that a long time ago, but we'd really like another try because we're being destroyed in this new system that we've advocated for. That's what needs to happen. I don't know if it's going to. The Democrats aren't really those sorts of politicians, but I would love to see it. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.